What's going on, and welcome back to another gear setup. And in this video we're going to be going over my TYR Tactical Pico DS Assault Lite plate carrier and how I have this set up to really fit a multitude of different mission sets. This setup is kind of a general purpose setup to where I can train with it and train across patrol type operations, direct action hostage rescue, and vehicle mounted, everything in between. Like, this thing will facilitate a lot when it comes down to it, and it will address a lot of different mission sets, as well as my position when it comes to just dealing with weapons and being able to run and gun and move light and fast on the ground. So with that, I'm just going to dive right into it so that way you can see what's going on, how I have this set up. Always be cognizant, though, that your mission, operational environment, and duty position could dictate how you need to set up your equipment a little bit differently. So always be on the lookout for that and be flexible to adapt and adjust your kit for what you have going on. So this is just kind of a template and a guide to help give you an idea of what it should look like or could look like, and then you can go from there based off of the circumstances that you're working with. So diving right into it, I'm going to start from the front and then work my way around to the cummerbund and then hit the back. When it comes to the front of the plate carrier, I always run a 3-mag panel, whether it has bungees on it or the elastic retention for the magazines. I usually run 3 mags up front, and then the exterior that I have is typically for an additional 3 mags, or if I need this set up for something else like initiating systems, compasses, breaching supplies, and all of that, I have the ability to run special equipment up front here in place of magazines, and then I can offset those additional magazines throughout my kit, whether it's on my belt, in my gun, or in the back panel. I have some options as far as setting up mags on my kit. I typically will only roll around with about 5 mags, and then I'll have another 5 mags in the back seat of a vehicle, or I'll have 2 extra mags in the back panel, so that way I'm roughly sitting between 7 mags and 10 mags, but 10, or I should say 5, is what is on my kit that is always easily accessible. 1 on the gun, 3 on the plate carrier, 1 on the belt. Kind of moving around, I have my tourniquet on the bottom of the magazine panel, and that's just center, so that way I can grab that with either hand. I can apply that, whether it's self-aid or if somebody else needs to apply it, it's right there in front of them. They can grab that and apply that to whatever injury has been sustained to increase that survivability and then push me out to a higher level of care. To the sides of the magazine placards and panels, I have the TYR Tactical Assaulter Flashbang Pouches, and these can run a multitude of different things. You can run multi-tools, flashbangs, and enola smoke grenades if you want to purchase those on your own. It will run a lot of smaller items in conjunction with those, to include lights, and I've seen some guys actually run like real small lasers for marking and all that inside of these as well. So that's kind of the front of the plate carrier. The 3-mag panel that you see up front here is the Blue Force, yes, the Blue Force Gear 10-speed triple mag panel, and then behind that is the Shaw Concepts triple mag panel. I don't know if they're still making the Molly version of that, but that's that Molly version, and then it just buckles into the top right here. One thing to note, though, that I think no matter what you're doing, no matter what your mission is, and no matter what your position is, whether you're law enforcement, military, private contractor, state, federal, doesn't matter what it is, always run 3 cleaning rod sections on your kit, so that way if you ever have some sort of massive and catastrophic malfunction within the chamber, you can punch stuck casing out, or you can completely dislodge any obstructions or anything like that. I've seen it happen, whether it was a ruptured casing, a round got stuck in the chamber, or couple of instances where there was like debris and all of that's kind of stuck in the barrel that needed to get punched out. Having those clean rod sections is really gonna help out in those scenarios, so that way you don't have a gun that just completely gets taken out of the fight. So more often than not, I actually use these in training as well, because a lot of times doing a lot of shooting, you actually start seeing specific malfunctions with ruptured casings and stripped casings and all of that. It would be smart to have a round or a casing extractor in conjunction with that, because that can happen too, and that will completely deadline the gun. So I would run that in conjunction with those cleaning rod sections. I don't typically run any admin pouches up top here, just because what I've found is that when you're running admin pouches up top, they'll get in the way when you're trying to transition from shoulder to shoulder, shoulder to shoulder, or right side to left side, or dominant to non-dominant, whatever verbiage makes the most sense to you. I've seen guys get their stock caught up on it, and it just slows them down. In conjunction with some of those larger admin pouches will actually inhibit you from being able to draw your mags from your kit. So I keep it nice and slick, just run patches up front and or call sign cards and all that stuff, so that way it's easy for people in identification and all that stuff. So that's typically how I run the front of my plate carriers. When it comes to the sides, I don't think I have it. Oh, I do have it right here. I will typically run my push-to-talks on the side of the plate carrier. So you open this up, and I will run my push-to-talk through these elastic loops right here. Kind of got to reset this up a little bit. I haven't used this in a really long time, but just get that punched through. This guy will just go right in here. I'll connect my Peltors through the top there, and then this guy will just kind of sit right in place right there, and then like so. It's just nice and neatly tucked away. It's out of the way. It's not interfering with any operation of my equipment, or being able to manipulate my rifle, reload my weapon system, or pull flashbangs and all that stuff out. So that's one way that I have it set up. The other way that I've had it set up in the past is where I just flip it upside down and the cable runs through the shoulder strap. So I've been playing around with some other plate carriers, like the S&S Precision Plate Frame Modular. So trying to adapt this guy over to that system has been a little tricky. So completely different setup and system. So but whether you want to run that push to talk from bottom or through the bottom of the plate carrier and then run that around through your cummerbund, or you flip it upside down, you have some options just depending on where you want to place that radio. I know some guys will put their radios up front right next to their magazines and all that. I'm not really big on that. It gets in my way when it really comes down to it, so I always backload my radios. But then I also have a I believe it's an SKD, if I'm thinking correctly. Yeah, I usually have one of those, or I have a phone that has the ability to plug into the radio, and then I can adjust my channels and radio settings and all of that stuff through that means. So options when it comes down to it, just food for thought and helping you set up your kit the way it's going to work best for you. So that's typically how I have the front of all of my plate carriers set up, maybe some slight deviation. I do have a plate carrier, or my S&S Precision right now has the shotgun placard up front here, so it's got a 2 magazine Blue Force Gear 10-speed magazine pouch on the left hand side, and then on this right hand side I have that a shotgun placard for shotgun breaching and all that, and then I have the same 21st Tactical lanyard in this as well as that other one. So that's kind of that shotgun setup. And then on the cummerbund, when it comes to that shotgun piece, I have this magnet here on the back side to help with magnet retention, and then I'll typically run a hook on my belt, so then that way the magnet is preventing the shotgun from rolling and hitting you in the back of the arm or rotating, and then that hook is keeping it from swinging in and out. So it's kind of a dual system that really keeps that shotgun right in place and will not move on you at all. This is a rare earth magnet from 21st Tactical. Really solid system, really powerful. You do have to be a little bit careful with this, because this will hang you up on steel doorways and all that if you get too close to the frame. So just be cognizant of that. I got my radio pouch here on the left hand side though. 412 or 152s and 148s. I gotta think about that for a sec, but I can run both radios inside of that. Typically, I think I'm running the 152 more than anything. I haven't seen a whole lot of 148s recently. So with that, when it comes to the back panel, I always like running all of my radio stuff on the interior of these back panels. The key thing with that is it just opens up the interior of the plate carrier for all of your antennas, whether you want to do an antenna relocation kit and have a solid rigid antenna in the back here, or if you want to use something like this body whip antenna, you can run that through the back of the plate carrier bag, so then that way it opens up your placards and zip-on panels for all sorts of other stuff, whether it's direct action, hostage rescue, foreign internal defense, patrolling operations, vehicle mounted operations, air assault stuff. You have the ability to custom set up all of these placards and panels for whatever the mission dictates, so that way you can be very adaptable and set up your kit as needed. So with that, when it comes to what I actually have on the back panel itself, right now I'm just running 4 TYR tactical flashbang pouches. They're good for smoke, they're good for flashbangs, and then whatever other small pieces of equipment that I may need. So I typically just run that for right now, and then I have a large general purpose pouch from TYR Tactical that I can run all sorts of equipment in specific to that mission set. So in conjunction with that, the cool thing with this zipper panel that I have, it actually kind of opens up and has multiple pockets, so that way I can run this in a couple of different configurations and setups. If I need extra medical supplies, I can always open up this interior pocket and then take something like the Focus Research Group's zippered bladder and then just shove this right into there. And then that way, if the medic is, or we're on a mission and the medic knows that he can't carry everything and it's going to be a big operation with a lot of dudes, you can just have that extra medical supply in there. Granted, you got to push it all the way in and whatnot, but it'll look like that, and then typically you'll just have this little tail hanging out the bottom, so that way you can just rip it out as needed. The cool thing with this is you can run a lot of different equipment in it, especially when you open this up on the top side. You can run tools, you can run hydration, and really get into the weeds on setting up this back panel to kind of be like a small little assault sustainment pack. So definitely gives you some options when it comes to utilizing this as kind of a general purpose pouch, hydration pouch, med pouch, and so on down the line. So and then I just have a small little general purpose pouch for admin data and all of that. That's on the back side, more for casualty stuff than anything. But with that, that's kind of how I have this all set up. I'm just gonna set that off to the side for right now. When it comes to the shotgun lanyards from 21st Tactical, before I close this out, loop those and tether those in at the bottom of the plate carrier. These things are pretty elastic, or have a lot of elasticity to them. So when you start breaking them in, you're going to notice that's going to stretch a little bit more. I haven't had any issues with the whole length piece of this, just over time with use, especially when you're doing the heavy shotgun breaching training and just getting after it. These will kind of stretch out just a little bit, but that's common wear and tear for that type of stuff. So tether it into the bottom. It just helps keep things nice and tight and in the way that you want them, so that way it's not doing too much movement around on you. So and then have that internal of the back panel, so that way it helps keep it protected and you don't have that accidentally get cut. In a multitude of different scenarios that can happen. Your environment can cut it up, depending depending on the environment that you're working in. Or an urban environment can really tear your equipment up real quick, in conjunction with like fast roping, rappelling, stuff like that. Those types of environments or situations where you're doing that type of infiltration can really tear apart your equipment real quick. I've had slings break, I've had lanyards break, I've had these get kind of worn into just a little bit because of the ropes and jumping in and out of the aircraft and vehicles and rappelling down the sides of a building. Ropes and all that stuff and whatnot can really tear apart your equipment real quick. So just protect that, because your shotgun's going to be attached to it. So with that, I really don't have anything else for this, except for on the interior. I do have the body armor vents. These things are awesome because you can inflate these guys it's Velcroed in there, so I'm just going to leave it in there. But you can inflate this guy so that way it kind of helps circulate some air throughout the system and keep things a little bit cooler rather than running real hot and whatnot. So really nice system to have on the interior of it. A lot of guys that I know, if they purchase those, they put them on the actual like interior of the plate carrier. I don't really like doing that. I'd rather have it kind of in the plate pocket, just because I've had issues with them kind of shifting and moving around on the inside of that plate carrier. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free, leave a comment. I'll help you out in any way that I can. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.